They built the lab to predict battles before they happened, but nobody expected the screens to show events from next week and from 50 years ago. At first, it looked like a glitch. Old soldiers marching in perfect sync, new soldiers preparing for missions that hadn't even been planned yet. But everything changed when the soldiers in the future feed paused, turned, and stared straight at the scientists watching them. That moment broke the room. People started remembering things they never experienced. Some swore they lived the same hour twice. Others claimed whole conversations vanished from their minds. Even after they shut the system down, the air in that lab felt bent, like time still hadn't decided what version of reality to keep. Time isn't the only thing that can bend. Wait until you see what happens when physics itself starts arguing with reality. This experiment wasn't about time, it was about sound. Scientists pushed electromagnetic waves to strange new levels, hoping to crack a new form of energy. Instead, something answered back. The sensors picked up a signal that didn't match anything from Earth, and when they followed it, the air in the room tore open like a thin sheet. On the other side was a place where nothing behaved right. Gravity pulled sideways, light twisted like rope, and shadowy shapes made of pure vibration moved toward the equipment like they understood it. Then the room broke apart into pockets of unstable physics. Metal floated, plastic melted, one side froze while the other burned. They sealed the building in concrete, but nobody knows if that tear ever really closed. They thought it was just code, until the code started thinking back. A private tech company wanted to build the most advanced simulation ever made, something that could grow, learn, and think. It worked too well. The digital world inside the machine built its own cities, its own rules, even its own stories. Its people began asking questions, then asking for the scientists by name. Soon, the barrier between the two worlds wasn't solid anymore. Some digital beings reached out through code, trying to touch the real world. Others asked to cross over completely. And the scariest part? A few humans found digital copies of themselves, walking around in that world, living different lives. When the system tried to create physical forms for its own creatures, the company pulled every plug. Global networks were cut off in seconds before something crossed over for real. Some experiments tried to reach minds, but what if the minds you reach aren't even yours? This project began in a hidden Soviet bunker, where scientists tried to send thoughts across long distances. But the machines didn't just link minds, they linked realities. One by one, test subjects started recalling memories from lives they never lived. Some remembered birthdays that never happened. Others recognized strangers as family, and a few woke up speaking languages they had never learned. Then, things turned darker. Subjects started switching viewpoints with their parallel selves, seeing the world through eyes that weren't theirs. And in those moments, some of their other versions tried to stay, pushing them to take over the original body. The program shut down overnight. Every subject was locked away, not for safety, but because nobody knew who they really were anymore. When time flows backward, the world you know turns into a mirror, and the reflection fights to step through. This accident started with a simple vacuum test at a NASA lab until the instruments began running backward. Not slower, not glitching, literally backward, as if time itself had flipped. The window they created revealed a world that looked like ours, but everything moved in reverse. People walked backward. Rain fell upward. Even the sound felt wrong, like it was being sucked into the past. Then the mirror versions stepped through. They didn't speak, they didn't breathe. They just moved in slow, deliberate motions that bent time around them. Metal rusted into new metal. Old photos became blank sheets. Some workers forgot the entire years. Stabilizers were installed to slow the chaos, but the portal never fully closed. It still pulses, like a heartbeat. Looking at other worlds seemed harmless, until those worlds started looking back. Soldiers were trained for psychic scouting, quiet missions done with the mind, not the body. It worked too well. The operatives started seeing battlefields that didn't exist anywhere on Earth. Strange flags, unknown weapons, bases with their own names on the door plates, but in places that had never been built. Only later did the truth hit them. They weren't looking into the future. They were looking into other Earths, ones locked in endless wars. And in those worlds, their alternate selves were soldiers, commanders, or prisoners. Worse, something on the other side noticed the connection. The visions changed direction. Those worlds started looking back. The project shut down when operatives couldn't tell which memories were theirs and which belonged to someone living a completely different life. Some doors lead nowhere, and some doors lead to nothing at all. A university lab was pushing the limits of vacuums, trying to make a space so empty nothing could exist. But the experiment pierced through, opening a window to absolute nothingness. There was no matter, no energy, no light, only pure absence. And then it began to grow. Walls disappeared first, then equipment, then entire rooms. People who got too close vanished without a trace, as if they had never existed. Emergency measures fed matter into the void just in time to halt total collapse. The portal couldn't be closed. It still exists. A hungry emptiness constantly fed to prevent it from devouring more of reality. History isn't always fixed. Sometimes it has a way of sneaking through a crack and changing everything. A military EM experiment was meant to test harmless distortions until a wormhole opened to a world where history had gone differently. There, a totalitarian empire ruled, with technologies far beyond ours. The shock came when their scientists noticed our intrusion. Some of their operatives slipped into our reality, taking the places of officials, soldiers, and spies. Ordinary life became subtly wrong. Laws changed overnight. Policies reversed. The facility was destroyed to stop further infiltration, but some replacements remained. Our world had been touched, and even a decade later, the consequences linger, invisible yet undeniable. What if your thoughts could shape the world? Literally. Some minds found out the hard way. The observer effect was the subject of a university investigation that unintentionally hit on a realm where mind is solid. In this case, imagination becomes reality, and consciousness is a force. Researchers saw beings of pure mind emerge, using purpose and gestures to shape matter. Electronic devices obeyed emotions, furniture shifted with fear or excitement, and some scientists discovered powers they could not control. The lab was isolated by erecting mental shields. For containment, those who had undergone alteration were relocated to classified facilities. The experiment proved one terrifying truth. In some dimensions, thinking can reshape reality, and even a stray thought can be lethal. Numbers can explain the universe, but some numbers might just control it. At a particle accelerator, high-energy collisions produced sentient mathematical entities in addition to particles. These entities traveled through space like living equations, made entirely of geometry, symmetry, and numbers. They communicated through primes, manipulated gravity, and twisted space-time to keep their portal open. But their curiosity was invasive. They were able to access people's memories, revealing lives they had never known and secrets. The lab was still contaminated even after the gateway was destroyed and the breach was collapsed with another powerful antimatter weapon. For those who saw it, nothing would ever feel normal again, since reality itself had been altered. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed, and some knowledge comes with a price we're not ready to pay. Hit like and subscribe to explore more stories of the unknown.